Howdy YouTube, ZipDisc here. This is not a Transformers review. This is the beginning of a series I've been planning since I started doing these videos for people. This is a series I'm going to call Defending the Indefensible. Namely, I am going to attempt to defend and explain where in franchise history and why a certain series deserves a place in it. And that series is the most maligned series in the history of Transformers. Namely, Kiss Players. Yes, the franchise that many people were afraid would ruin things forever because it was perverted and weird and very, very, very odd. Today this is basically just an overview and a start to the series. I'm not sure how many parts this is going to be, but the basic series is going to be delving into the mythology and where it fits into the story, the grander Transformers story. And I'm going to start with a brief overview of Japanese Transformers continuity and where exactly Kiss Players fits into that continuity. And a lot of hardcore fans, a lot of the older fans are going to know exactly what I'm talking about here, but I feel it's necessary to go over to explain where Kiss Players fits in and why it exists in the first place. Now, in Japan, the first two series of Transformers the original series that we got in Japan as Seasons 1 and Seasons 2, were edited together into one long series and called Fight Super Robot Lifeform Transformers. Now, Season 3, which we called just Season 3, they renamed as a totally new franchise called Fight Super Robot Lifeform Transformers 2010. Or 2010, as some commercials call it. Now, this is because, unlike the original American series, which was set 1 year after the movie in 2006, this is set 5 years after the movie in 2010. Partially, this is because they did not get the movie when we did. Japan didn't get Transformers the movie till I think 1989. So there was this big gap between things that didn't make a lot of sense. There was this new character, Rodimus Prime. There were all these new characters. Some of the old characters were gone. And instead of coming up with a total explanation for all of this and trying to explain why this has all changed so quickly, they shot the series to the year 2010 just to say, this is the future. And then they talked about a few of the things that happened retroactively without showing them as we got in the movie. Part of this is also because Daniel shows up, and Daniel had never been seen before since he was a character created for the movie. This also leads to a strange problem of why Daniel doesn't age between, say, Transformers the movie and Transformers 2010 in Japan, but I won't get into that right now. So there's a 5-year gap between Transformers the movie and Transformers 2010. Even bigger gap between Season 2 and Transformers 2010, considering Season 2 supposedly ends in about 1986, 1987, somewhere around there in continuity. So we're taking this huge jump, like 20-some years into the future for them. Let me see. Yes, it would have been 23 years from 1987 or 24 years from 1986 into the year 2010. There's a big gap in there then between just the end of the movie and the beginning of Season 3. Kiss Players falls into this gap. Now, Kiss Players was retroactively put into continuity since Kiss Players was created in 2006. Fictionally, it's sort of an explanation of where the Earth Defense Command comes from and what happened between the movie and Transformers 2010. Merchandising-wise, what happened was the Binaltech line, which was the current Transformers line at the time, was not doing so well in Japan. The last 3 figures in the Transformers Binaltech line were released as Binaltech Asterisk. Now, what Binaltech Asterisk was, it was the vehicles, the highly detailed, transformable, licensed vehicles with girl action figures with them. Well, not really action figures, sort of little PVC figures in scale with the vehicles that you could switch the legs and arms around on to give them either sitting poses so that they would sit behind the steering wheel of the car so they'd look like they were driving, or standing poses so they could stand next to the vehicles, or the robots when they were in robot mode, because nobody can ride in a Transformer when it's in robot mode. At least most people can't. These did fairly well. There were 3 of them. There was Broad Blast, which is basically Broadcast, or as we know him in the United States, Blaster, who was a remold of the Scion XB mold used for skids. There was Sunstreaker, who I think was the Dodge Viper mold, and there was Red Alert, who I'm not, or Alert as they call him in Japan, and I'm not exactly sure what mold he was, but he was one of the sports car molds. I don't have any of the Binaltech Asterisk figures. They're on my list of figures to pick up eventually because I like these odd, strange figures. The fiction for the series was done by a freelance toy designer and manga writer by the name of Yuki Oshima. Now, Oshima had previously done one figure for the Transformers line, and it was a PVC, and I will show it to you right now. I will grab it off the top of my shelf. Where did I put it? Here it is. Sorry about that delay, folks. This is from one of the PVC figures. I believe it's the one from the KT line, which is Kyoto and Takara working together to create a bunch of PVCs. They're little statue figures, whatnot. Now what this is if anybody remembers Robots in Disguise or Car Robots, it's a figure of TAI, or Tai as they call her in the United States, and I as they call her in Japan, AI, which is also the Japanese word for love, which kind of figures into things. Small PVC, as you can see. She's in a hot spring, taking a bath. Yes, it's a naked, mostly naked girl. With she has a little tiny toy of Skybite between her legs spitting water. And a very small super mode RID Optimus Prime staring over the shoulder taking a peek. This about sums up his style. He wanted to create a franchise that was so edgy it would make people's jaws drop. And he succeeded for the most part, with the manga appearing in Dengeki Daioh magazine. Now, Dengeki Daioh magazine is one of those big phone book size collections of manga that they produce in Japan, like Shonen Jump or Dragon Ace, or one of those franchises. Coincidentally, it's also where the incredibly adorable anime, or the original version of the manga that became the anime Azumanga Daioh, was published, just to show you the breadth of material available inside of some of these Japanese publications. He's a strange man, he does some odd things, and this franchise was intended to make people's jaws drop. But that said, it also adds some interesting things to the Transformers mythology. As I said, it happens basically it happens 1 year, Kiss Players happens 1 year after the movie, and starts with Galvatron crashing into the Earth after he's thrown out of Unicron by Rodimus Prime. Now the American Series 3, which is also set a year after, Galvatron crash landed on the planet Thrall into a pool of lava or some other caustic, bubbling, horrible stuff, and was driven mad and eventually rescued by Cyclonus and Scourge, who brought him back and had him brought him back as leader of the Decepticons. And this happens in the Japanese version too, but not until 4 years after this. Galvatron crashes into the Earth and kills millions of people by destroying Tokyo. The Earth responds by basically knee-jerk reaction against all Transformers. They build an anti-electron barrier. Anti-electrons are a thing explained in Season 3 of the Transformers, and again retroactively applied to this continuity, that prevents all Transformers from coming to Earth. All the Autobots are removed from Earth, the Decepticons are already gone. Ultra Magnus goes back to Cybertron. Apparently Autobot City is abandoned at this point. And the dead body of Optimus Prime is in the hands of the EDC, the Earth Defense Command, whose goal is to defend the Earth from the Transformers, and is led by a woman who is virulently anti-Transformer because her daughter was killed when Galvatron crashed into Earth, and she has a vendetta against them all. Now, Galvatron's cells, we're going to say cells because that's what it says in the fiction, even though robots don't technically have cells, are infused with Unicron energy and scattered across the Earth. When they come in contact with a vehicle, they create something called a Legion, which looks like a robot with Megatron's head and a giant prehensile, slimy, explicitly phallic tongue. These things, all they live to do is consume. Consume, 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 consume. And the humans who are infused become Kiss Players, or they are able to fuse with machines by kissing them. Now, this is just the overview of the franchise. I'm going to do more of these videos. I'd like to hear what people think, if they want me to do more of these, if they want me not to. I'll be back later today with an actual Transformers review. But for now, this is my overview of the Kiss Players franchise, just to see what people think. Hope you enjoy it. I'll be doing more of these until I'm done with the series. Have a good day.